Welcome to the National Museum of Industrial History's Meet the Manufacturing series. I'm Karen Mossinger, President and CEO of NMIH. Here at the museum, we seek to explore not only the past, but also the present and future of industry in America. The Lehigh Valley, with its rich history of industrial innovation, is home to more than 15,000 businesses contributing to a diverse manufacturing base. Join us monthly for an inside look at Manu Manufacturing with representatives from local companies and help us celebrate the people, machines, and ideas that transform our daily lives. Meet the Manufacturer is made possible through the generous support of our premier sponsor, Lehigh Valley Industrial Parks, and also our series sponsor, Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corporation. And with your support, you can help us to inspire this and future generations of inventors and innovators by texting the word industry to 44321. You'll receive a secure link to make your donation. Or you can visit our website at nmih.org. We look forward to seeing you at the museum soon. Enjoy the program. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Don Cunningham, President and CEO of the Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corporation, and we are a proud sponsor of the National Museum of Industrial History's Meet the Manufacturer interview series. And it's my honor to serve as your host tonight as we meet with Jean-Claude Dubacher. Jean-Claude is the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of B. Braun Medical, based here in Bethlehem, one of the largest manufacturers in the Lehigh Valley and one of the largest medical manufacturers in the world. So tonight we're going to get to talk to Jean-Claude about his interesting background and trajectory into leading B. Braun and their role here in the Lehigh Valley community. Jean-Claude, great to be with you once again, even if it's not in person.
A pleasure, privilege to be here. Good to see you virtually.
Yes, it is good to see you. And just to give our audience a little bit of background, Jean-Claude came to B. Braun in 2019 with more than 15 years of experience in the medical device manufacturing field. He previously worked for Johnson & Johnson as head of the commercial operations for the surgical ophthalmology division. He covered Europe and Africa and the Middle East. And in 2020, at B. Braun, Jean-Claude succeeded longtime B. Braun chairman and CEO Karl Neubauer. He has a law degree from the University of Zurich in Switzerland and an MBA from the Harvard Business School. Before moving here to the Lehigh Valley, Jean-Claude and his family lived in Germany, Spain, and Puerto Rico, as well as Massachusetts, Texas, and California. And now we're really proud to call him a resident of the Lehigh Valley and to have him here as one of our great business community leaders and manufacturers in the Lehigh Valley. Jean-Claude, you have a long and impressive and storied background in manufacturing, as does B. Braun. And maybe you could begin with just giving a little bit of background on the company, its origins, and its organizational framework.
I would love to do that. So indeed, B. Braun has a very long history, over 180 years. It's a family-owned company. It started with a small pharmacy in a village outside, roughly 2 hours away from Frankfurt, and then became one of the largest medical device manufacturers in the world. As of today, we have over 64,000 employees, and here in B. Braun Medical, so in North America, we have also over 8,500 employees. And I think very interesting to note that the global CEO is a member of the family, and it's the 6th generation of the family.
That's
and I think really impressive, right? Because usually at least one generation messes it up, but the family Braun has managed over so many generations to have very successful leaders. And obviously Anna Braun, who is the current global CEO, is doing a fantastic job to taking the company to the next generation.
And you always hear that third generation is the toughest one to get through in the family-owned businesses. So B. Braun, the headquarters is in Germany for the global headquarters. and operating in more than 60 countries around the world, correct? And as you said, 64,000 employees. I think a lot of folks here in the Lehigh Valley don't realize how big and extensive and an international company that B. Braun is. Here in the Lehigh Valley, B. Braun has, I think, more than 2,000 employees and is expanding. Could you talk a little bit about the types of products that the company makes globally, but then specifically what is made here in the Lehigh Valley?
Yeah, so we have a very large portfolio of different products and diseases we are treating. But I think the two main ones are one, which we call the smart infusion therapy, which is everything starting with the IV bag, which has a solution. So God forbid any of our loved ones need to go to the hospital, they usually get an IV bag right away. So we make that IV bag and the solution in it, and then the tubing and the catheters and the pumps, which help in that whole process. So we call it smart infusion therapy. And then we also have safe and efficient pharmacy products. So we make generic drugs. We also make antibiotics. We make compounding machines and all the tools you actually need to compound drugs. So these are the two biggest ones, but then we have also a set of specialty products. So starting from implants for hip, knees, to implants in the vascular area, heart, going to pain control business, dialysis machines, etc., etc. So
Mm-hmm.
really large, diversified portfolio.
Yeah, it's a fascinating array of products. And in the last year, I think the business community, the community at large, has really come to focus a lot more on life sciences manufacturing and medical device manufacturing, as we saw during the pandemic. With challenges of global supply chains and battles to get new vaccines developed and distributed in countries. I know during the challenging year of 2020 and into 21, B. Braun was very involved as well with adaptations around COVID and delivery of medical product, correct? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Our purpose of protecting and improving patient lives has never been truer than last year and even this year, because a large set of our products were desperately needed for COVID patients. Some of our drugs, but then all the IV solutions which were required for patients, especially ICU patients. So there was a moment where we, as an organization, really felt how we can make a difference. And I think as a good example, here in the Lehigh Valley, where we have a big manufacturing plant in Allentown, we actually developed a new product in record time last year, an extension set, which helped during the crisis where we didn't have enough PPE in the hospital. So we created an extension set so that the pumps, which would manage the infusions for the patients, so that those pumps could be outside in the hallways and not in the patient room, which helped them not to use that much PPE. And so this is a product we developed within a few weeks right here in the Lehigh Valley, and then seeing the difference that made and how it helped in New York, on the West Coast, everywhere where we had the hotspot was amazing and a humbling experience.
Yeah, that's really extraordinary that in that rapid amount of time, you're able to adapt and develop a modified product and produce it and get it out there. Is that something you're able to do completely in-house at B. Braun in terms of the R&D and the product development and design?
Yes, yeah, we do have a large R&D organization, and many years ago we made the decision to collocate R&D with our big manufacturing sites. So all the plastics we are making here in the Lehigh Valley, we have R&D right here. We have R&D for our drugs in Irvine, and so this collaboration has really helped us to be much more agile than we were before, and it made a big difference last year. Definitely.
One of the things in my role with the Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corporation that I'm asked often is, what products do we now make in the Lehigh Valley? And it's amazing because we have more than 700 manufacturers. It's manufacturing is the second biggest part of the economy here in the Lehigh Valley. We have 34,000 people working in the sector. But today, unlike our history of 20, 30, 40 years ago, it's very diversified. And a lot of folks don't realize it's heavily in the life sciences, medical device manufacturing, and medical diagnostics. We have, as I said, 170 life science companies. Braun is one of the largest, along with Olympus and OraSure. Uh, why do you think this type of manufacturing in the medical device and life sciences area is finding a home here in the Lehigh Valley? What are the kind of the ingredients of growth in this sector?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of reasons. The first one is definitely just the long history of manufacturing, which there's a dedication to manufacturing here, culture, which which is just you can see and feel it here in the Lehigh Valley, which just provides the right foundation. And then I think what is probably the second reason is that the Lehigh Valley, here we really managed to get the right scale very fast. So I have one or two bigger companies here who develop then the people, who develop the talent. And when I think for our company, where do we want to be? Well, we want to be in a place where we have talent which is cross-trained, right, which has experience, and having just a few bigger ones here help them to scale it up. And now it has become just a great place for life science companies. So we are very, very happy to be here. And as you know, we're investing heavily here with capacity increases and building a second plant here. So it's
Yeah,
time.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about that, the expansion of the manufacturing facilities out near the airport, Lehigh Valley International Airport. How is that project coming along? I know it's going to add capacity and maybe another 200 or so employees to the payroll.
Yeah, so it's coming along really well. Even last year, with all the challenges we had, our the construction companies who are helping us there, they made great progress despite all the issues we had. So it's all on track. So I'm happy to report that, and it's also really important for us because. Um, as part of our strategy of our future goal, we are saying that we want to double the patients we touch here in our nation. We all know that our products have the right quality and safety standard. If something, God forbid, happens to any of us, we want to have Braun products used on our loved ones. And so we're saying, given that we really want to have that happen, it's a moral obligation that we're becoming much bigger, because all the other patients who don't have access to our products, they need to get access as well. And as part of increasing that impact, we need to ensure that we have the right capacity. And so it's crucial to get our new plant up and running on time.
Well, and we're so grateful that you're choosing to do it here and grow here, and that the region can provide the education and the talented workforce. And I think it's great that the Museum of Industrial History is running this series, because what their focus being telling the history of the Industrial Revolution and Bethlehem Steel here in the Lehigh Valley. But the importance of letting people know that manufacturing is still alive and well and growing, at least in this part of the country. And we've seen now, in light of last year, more growth in the sector that you're in, life sciences, medical device. What can you talk a little bit about what you experienced as a company in terms of sales during the pandemic, and what you foresee maybe the next 3 to 5 years in terms of growth or business opportunity within B. Braun?
Yeah, so we had, first of all, to your first question, we had a good year last year. We were growing significantly, not as much as we would have liked to, but we were growing significantly. Now, many of the elective procedures which were cancelled, we felt that in several businesses as well. So if you think about our business around hips and knee implants, like our competition, we saw impact there. But overall, our product portfolio was just so much needed for COVID patients as well that we had a good year, and we were able to help all those patients. I think going forward, I am personally very excited about the future. I think the innovation we will be able to bring out is going to be making a big difference. That's also one of the big focuses we have. I think digitalization is going to take us to the next step, and not just digitalization in the sense of working with our customers, but also internally.
Mm-hmm.
What you can do with smart manufacturing, how you can increase quality, how you can improve safety with all those trends. And then it's a field where you can make a true difference. I always say, you can have a great purpose in cement production as well, and you can think about building big bridges and connecting people like that. But there is just nothing like saving a patient's life.
Mm-hmm.
And that purpose is going to stay with us going forward, and in many ways needed even more than ever. And so the combination of innovation, digitalization, and that true purpose we have makes the future very, very exciting. So yeah, I'm very, very optimistic, and I think the other thing what we have seen last year is the focus we have on domestic manufacturing, having
Mm-hmm.
supply chains shortened, making sure that we are not dependent on these long supply chains and they're being disrupted and then we cannot produce here. So really being integrated here in the US, West Coast and East Coast and in the middle, is making a big difference. And I think having that right foundation will help us as well to grow and have a bigger impact for our customers and patients going forward.
Yeah, I think that's really what's been fascinating coming out of the pandemic, which we're obviously still in, but hopefully coming out on the tail end of that. With every crisis comes challenges, but opportunities and adaptations and things you learn. And I think what we've seen is some benefits in terms of a reevaluation of supply chain, supply lines, and localized manufacturing, particularly in the healthcare and medical field. Is that something when being part of you're running the U.S. operation, but being part of a global company, are those large corporate decisions that are made in terms of where different product manufacturing is going to take place within B. Braun Global, or does each country kind of have its own operating unit that can pursue its market?
Yeah, so we have a history that we are really focused on being entrepreneurs in the region or in the country, and so we have made a conscious decision to produce very closely in the big markets we are now. It's not for all products, right? We need to be realistic. For many products, it's just not possible. But we are really focused on being close to the customer, and we'll continue to do that. Now, no, there's always opportunities to further integrate, but I think just last year, as you said, I think made people think again how to be set up, and we're glad that we were on the right bandwagon before already, and so now we're just going to double down on it.
Yeah, I want to shift for a moment. You have a fascinating background and a rapid trajectory of success, and as a native of Switzerland and being trained as an attorney, and I know you spent time in the military in your home country. What led you? I know you came to the States for the Harvard MBA. What led you into manufacturing work as a career?
Yeah, so first of all, I need to say it wasn't planned, right? Because going from the army to studying law and then being a consultant and ending up as my first job in the industry running a plant, that was really not planned. But um, when I was in the army and I was responsible for a mountain infantry company, I really loved leading these 250 people, being responsible for them, sharing with them the success, but also taking the blame, right, when something didn't work. But the satisfaction of leading people has always driven me. And uh, when that opportunity came up to run that plant, it wasn't that much about the technology, even though I'm really excited about technology, as you probably can tell, but it was really about leading this 900 people at that time. So it was, my first job was in Puerto Rico, on the west coast of the island, and it was a great place. Very dedicated people, very loyal people, but also many people who had to support their loved ones, right? Because there were not that many employees there, and it just became so clear to me that if I made a mistake, it impacted not only the people, but it impacted all the relatives of them. But then if we made some great decisions, then it helped everybody as well. So I think for me, it was always this leadership portion, and in manufacturing, especially when you run a plant, it's almost like a small village. That has always been fascinating to me. And
That seems right. I mean, you really outlined what you would call servant leadership, that philosophy around leadership, and it's testament to you that you view it that way. Do you feel that's learned more in Europe? Is that something that is just kind of natural to you coming out of your background, or is it part of formal training?
um, I I think for me, it really was part of my army training. I
Mm,
think I was just fortunate to have some mentors and some leaders who really lived that,
mhm.
and who had the patience with me to go through it and to teach me that whole approach. So I think that made a big difference for me. And then when I was able to actually apply it in various jobs I had, uh, when I saw that people are getting engaged, and people really walk the extra mile, and they're happy, and we're in it together. I think that helped reinforce that this is the right path to go on. But as I have mentioned to you before, right, it's something to aspire to, and I wouldn't claim for me that I'm a truly servant leader. I try to be one, but I think it's not a straight line. But I'm still working on it.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing I've always been impressed with B. Braun's investment and commitment into pipelines of training. I think of, I have the good fortune of being close to a lot of companies and manufacturers in the Lehigh Valley, and B. Braun stays very ingrained into our 9th through 12th grade vocational technical schools, our workforce development training, our community colleges. And part of it is obviously to ensure future workers for B. Braun, but really making an investment into training for manufacturing, letting students know that there is a career in making products. That culture is part of B. Braun. What do you say out there to any of the younger people listening in, whether they're in college or high school, about the reason why they should study in the fields that they can have an opportunity in making things and manufacturing products?
Yeah, so probably a couple of reasons. The first one, especially for life science, being part of helping people, I think it's just great calling, and building a career on that is great satisfaction. Now, it's not always easy, but it will definitely create great satisfaction. I think the other thing, and which has always fascinated me in manufacturing, is that technology is evolving, right? And getting into manufacturing, you can be part of that. Yeah, you build and develop on what you have learned, and you can go into new areas. When you just think the variety of jobs we have in the Allentown plant. The plant is over 1,000 people, right? But tons of different functions with different requirements, and just lots of things to learn. And then for us, I think as a company, given that we're family owned, sixth generation, we have that long-term view, and I think that helps us as well for having a place to start a career and build a career. And then probably the last one is, it's manufacturing. At the end, you have something in your hands. When you make certain sets for pain control, what you have in the hand right there, what you put together, is going to go to the patient. And there is this special feeling about that when you have that. It's very concrete what we're doing, and you can see the impact it has.
Yeah, and I think what you were saying there, a lot of people don't realize the wide variety of types of jobs and skill sets that exist within a company like B. Braun. Everything from product designers, science, researchers on the products. You were talking earlier about pharmaceuticals, producing generic pharmaceuticals and compounds for pharma. There's such a wide range of skill sets and opportunities within a company like B. Braun. You really do have to have your tentacles and pipeline out there into a lot of different schools and training options.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned we're working with the local community, local schools and universities because we need to build that talent for the future. Now, we were talking about, it's great to have several life science companies here, but we're also competing for talent, right? And now it's a good thing that we're competing for talent, because that helps us to really invest and further develop people. But we need to make sure that we get this pipeline of people, and making sure that people, students understand the opportunities they have, making sure that they get excited about it.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think for a program like this, we are trying to do a lot to get people to understand the manufacturing clusters that exist here today, because more awareness there is about a cluster like in life sciences, the more talent finds its way here. Just like back in the old days, if it was around steel or auto manufacturing or cement, people knew this region as a center of that production. And today we're very much of a growing center in the life sciences and medical device production. And the more awareness there is about that, the more talent will continue to find its way here. We are extremely grateful that not only that back in 1979, B. Braun stepped in and bought little Braun Medical in West Bethlehem, which has now grown as part of this large company and part of this large global network. And we're also very thrilled to have you, Jean-Claude, and your background and your attitude and philosophy and leadership as part of our community. So it's always a great pleasure to get a chance to talk to you and talk about what you do and listen to your passion for B. Braun and the Lehigh Valley and for manufacturing. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Megan Pildes with the National Museum of Industrial History. One of the nice features of this series is that viewers get a chance to ask you questions as well. So hopefully I left some things unaddressed, and Megan, you can follow up. But thank you very much, Jean-Claude, for joining with me again.
Always a pleasure, Don. Always a pleasure.
Hi there. So we had some questions sent in from our viewers and our staff and our volunteers, all very interested. Um, I'll just jump right into a few of them. How much of your manufacturing equipment is custom built, and what is the ratio of manual to automated labor in your facility?
Yeah, so I think the short answer is it really depends. It depends on the field. So there are products like kits where you put different pieces together, which is manually done. But then when you think about generic drugs we manufacture, that's mostly fully automated. So we have really vast variety of processes, and depending on which process, it's fully automated or it's still manual. And then for equipment, I would say the vast majority is customized, because you want to make sure, especially in our field where quality and safety is so important, that the equipment really delivers. And we have proprietary products which need to meet certain standards, and you won't get around without customization, which also makes it very exciting and interesting. Again, to Don's question around being in manufacturing, that gives a wide variety of opportunities, functions, and jobs people can have.
Um, One viewer says, I've noticed several different B. Braun facility signs around the Lehigh Valley. What is happening in each of these different buildings?
Yeah, so we have here in the Lehigh Valley the headquarters for our region. So uh, there are all those functions of finance, marketing, sales, and R&D, regulatory, etc. here. We also have then, as we mentioned, the manufacturing site, which has all those functions there. We have a large compounding facility in the Lehigh Valley as well, where we make trucks, and then we have also several of our subsidiaries headquarters here as well. And then depending on which subsidiary, people see different signs, but at the end, it's all be Braun, all part of the same family.
Um, how quickly do you see factories changing and advancing in technology? How different does the operation look today versus 5 years ago, 10 years ago?
I think it's changing more quickly, so it's accelerating. As we are getting more into digitalization, we are starting to see more and more opportunities. Um, just when I think about 15 years ago, how manufacturing sites were set up and how processes were developed versus now, it has drastically changed. Now, the life science med device area is usually a little bit slower because you have lots of regulatory requirements. We always need to know we're dealing with patients, right? So you want to make sure that all processes and the development is really solid. But also for our industry, smart manufacturing will become more and more important. And again, I think it's accelerating. There's just so much more potential out there, which we haven't grabbed yet.
That actually touches on one of the other questions is, what do you see as the biggest challenge to medical manufacturing? And they give some suggestions being regulations, supply chain distribution, finding skilled labor, etc.
Um, Probably a couple of them. I think the last one you mentioned about finding skilled labor, that is a challenge. Because it really requires skilled labor. And as we mentioned before, we need to develop people. We need to teach them, and the apprenticeship programs we started are going to help them, because only with skilled laborers we can actually be successful. So I think that's one of the major ones. If you look at other areas like regulations, or funding things, I think that's not that different from other things. And I think we can tackle all of them, but finding the skilled workforce, I think that's one of the top priorities we have.
Well, that brings us to the next question is what are the educational backgrounds and skill sets you're looking for in young hires? Someone else wanted to know a little bit about your apprenticeship program.
Yeah. So, I have over the years developed the philosophy that in many areas, it's more about attitude, about curiosity, about willingness to dive in and learn, more than having the skill or the technical skill. I think if you have this curiosity, if you have the drive, you can acquire those skills. So I think, first of all, for me, that's key. What is the right attitude? And all the rest will come. Now, in terms of skill requirements, it's a variety of skills. And we here in the Allentown facility, we make lots of plastics and we mold them. So that's molding craft is it's a very challenging and complex one. It requires lots of training and lots of experience. So now that's different than from what we require for people who work in finance, right, or in other areas. But I think it comes back again. We have two daughters, twin daughters, and I think what I tell them, now they're still just becoming teenagers now, but I tell them, it's all about learning. It's about being curious, about really trying to find out what is next and having that drive, and all the rest will come. Skills you will develop with that attitude. And I think I would give that advice to anybody out there.
And your the apprenticeship program?
Yeah, so the apprenticeship program is a program we started a few years ago, and we actually mimicked it to the German apprenticeship program, where Germany has a long history of developing people in a combination of having school and then on-the-job learning. And so we started that here as well. Here in Allentown, working with partner schools here as well, the high school side, but then also on the university side, and has had a big impact. I think now, as soon as we are getting out of the pandemic, so sort of normal again, this will be a big focus that we have going forward as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Jean-Claude, for joining us, and thank you to Don for hosting. It was wonderful to have you and hear the inspiring story of your innovations and how they're impacting our community and the entire world. I want to give a special thanks to our premier sponsor, Lehigh Valley Industrial Park, and our series sponsor, Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corporation. As a nonprofit museum, contributions like this make programs like this possible. And if anyone would like to support NMIH, you can text the word industry to 44321. You'll receive a secure donation link. Please make sure to check out our website. We're doing this series monthly, and we have lots of programs both in person and online that we'd love you to participate in. That's www.nmih. Thanks, everyone, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Megan.
The true hallmark of any location is the people, those who choose to call it home. Lehigh Valley is the land of makers and dreamers. Hard work is our heritage, and it's that heritage that fuels us. Our traditions unite us. Our legacy is determination. Our future will be built on the principles of creativity and perseverance. Because when others said we couldn't, we did. Some may think of us as underdogs. Yeah? Well, never underestimate the underdog. Lehigh Valley has been and always will be home to those with great vision. We know the value of an honest day's work. We practically wrote the book on it. Out of the embers from the hands that forged a nation come those that are crafting the future. Now, if you'll excuse us, we've got work to do.